Rudi No Radio is a program run by Siwa Radio. In fact, it is their first community radio program. The larger organization of Siwa itself is actually a trade union founded in 1972. It is made up of self-employed, impoverished women who make a living through small businesses or labor in the unorganized sector. Siwa operates to support working women moving towards the goal of self-reliance, with many services including health and childcare, legal aid, housing, and insurance. It is vital that these services are provided at an affordable cost and in local and reachable locations. The services that they offer also provide employment opportunities for many women as well. Rudi No Radio is symbolically named after the first member of Siwa, Rudi, who helped to spread the many Siwa programs into rural areas. But what actually is Rudi No Radio? It is a Siwa-run radio program that is partially self-funded and also funded by many sister organizations. The program started with the idea to utilize radio to further explore communication and education in non-urban areas that are a bit out of reach of much of mainstream media. What makes radio a better medium than television or newspapers? Radio is actually the ideal medium for reaching out into developing areas. The consumption and production of radio doesn't require the ability to read or write. It also doesn't need expensive equipment for listening. In fact, more than one person can listen from just one device. The low-maintenance foundation of the radio program makes it a quintessential method for reaching into very remote areas. While Rudi No Radio is based in Gujarat, India, it serves a much larger radius of communities. It has been estimated that around 500,000 people are tuning into the shows weekly. This program was made specifically for rural audiences. Much of the audience even listens while at work. The programs air weekly on All India Radio Ahmedabad, which began in April of 2005, and on the community Rudi No radio station, which started in November of 2009. They started the All India radio program by airing only 26 pilot episodes, but the listeners responded so positively and with such high demand that they renewed their contract with All India Radio. The viewers have created such a dedicated following that they become agitated enough to write letters when the usual broadcast is interrupted by cricket matches. The community section of Rudi No Radio was founded off of the success of Rudi No Radio. CRS reaches over 40 villages within a 10-kilometer radius and is the voice of the villagers and of the women. In fact, CRS is actually managed and run by a team of community women. It also acts as a training center to support the emergence of other such community radio channels. The broadcasts consist of many different segments which cover a variety of issues. Some topics covered are health, insurance, nutrition, education, environment, communal harmony, agriculture, traditional arts and crafts, festivals, traditional medicines, storytelling, folk music, awareness generation on government schemes, and more. The programs are formatted in a very informal and accessible manner, often sitting and talking with members of the local village about relevant issues and topics that affect them as women and as laborers. Rudi No Radio has also created many ways to support and interact with the community. One of these is the listeners groups, which were created to help expand the audience and to encourage them to send in information. There is even a children's listeners group that targets a younger audience and encourages their participation and contribution to the broadcasts. The Siwa team organizes trainings, workshops, exposure visits, and more with the listeners group. They also run a phone-in program in which listeners can personally share their views by calling into the studio. In addition to this, they run a phone-out program as well, where the announcer actually calls the listeners to take their views and receive feedback. The Rudi No Radio FM station has even broken out of the confines of traditional community radio and launched a pilot project in order to reach even more villages. They are doing this by using a specially designed website on which they can upload educational, informative, and entertaining programs via the internet, and access to this web space is free to members of the village centers. Community media takes on so many forms and means many different things to different people. Rudi No Radio is a great example of a successful form of alternative media. The main focus is the community itself and encouraging the entire community, including the previously marginalized groups such as women, to participate. Empowerment in this context can take the form of a voice, shaping one's own identity and taking control of how you view yourself and how other people view you. The process of creating media in these forms is a very emancipating action, regardless of the audience, although Rudi No Radio does have a flourishing viewership. Women are often left in the dust and silenced by their communities at large, and Rudi No Radio is an amazing opportunity to rise out of these shadows and voice your opinions.